Hello, everyone. My name is Meseret. I'm Bacho, but I go by Mez. I'm an international affairs major, a first year student. I'm kind of sick right now, so you guys are gonna have to bear with me. Um, yeah, and I'm in Professor Jody Lake's class GRI or Gender, Race, and Identity 201, and I feel like I've learned a lot in that class. I mean, everyone has learned a lot, especially since the class is based on so much of discussion and learning based off of ourselves. But let me tell you a little bit about myself and my identity. So, I was born in Canada, and Ottawa, Canada. I moved to Ethiopia when I was about 4 years old, and I went to preschool there. So I feel like from there is when I was like really in touch with my culture because like my parents were born and raised in Ethiopia, and then after a year in Ethiopia, I moved to Boston for about like not even 3 months. I guess I'd call it a vacation, because my aunt was there, and then I moved to Vegas, and I lived there for the rest of my life, and then moved out here to Reno to go to college. But um, growing up, I wasn't sure what I was. I felt like I grew up so differently, but I looked like a different culture. So if that makes sense, like I grew up Ethiopian with Ethiopian traditions and everything because again my parents were born and raised, and but I looked black, but at the same time I didn't. So I wasn't sure where I fit in, and people like growing up, people would always ask me like, "Are you black? Like, what are you mixed with?" And it was just annoying because like coming if you're from Africa or like your roots in Africa, like you just like I don't know how to explain it, but you're black if you're from Africa unless you're like Northern African. And I just like I guess other people or other kids would just tell me like, I mean, you don't look black, so I don't think you are black. Like Ethiopians aren't black. It's not what they are. So I grew up thinking that, and on top of that, my parents would also tell me like, you're not black, you're Ethiopian. And so that's what I basically like went off of in terms of that. Um, so every time someone would ask me what I am, I would say Ethiopian. And it wasn't until like later in high school that I realized like that's self-hate, saying that you're Ethiopian but you refuse to claim that you're black because black can be so many things. And I realized that it's not what I am, it's self-hate. And so I just like when I keep telling people or when they ask me and I'm just like, yeah, I'm black, they're just like, but what are you exactly? So I would just like say I'm Ethiopian. So I've always been confused about like between my Ethiopian and black identity, especially because my parents were so against being black growing up. They just said black was bad. Um, Not that it was bad, but we're different from them, and we were raised in a different culture. So that's how I knew I was different, and especially from like other black kids, and I was just kind of like excluded from them because I looked different and I talked differently. I didn't talk black, whatever that means. And yeah, that's I was just so confused. And then later I came to the conclusion that I am black, and I told my parents that, we're East African, we are black. So like if we deny that, that's just self-hate. Um in terms of GRI, I think I came to like love my blackness more. Like I still have a lot more to learn about my identity in terms of like the tribes in Ethiopia because um, back when my father he was a refugee at a very young age and moved to Sudan because of the conditions and because it just like depended on what tribe you're from or whatever. And so when I asked him, because like so many people from Ethiopia know where their tribe is or what tribe they're from, he was very angry with me and said that you don't need to know. All you need to know is that you're Ethiopian. And my mom said the same thing, because claiming a tribe is like claiming your political party, but there's so many like different cultures and different tribes, so I feel as though I'm still working on my identity. But I feel like I should know, but that's for me to look into. Excuse me. In terms of the class, GRI, I feel like I've learned so much, not just about race, but about gender as well, and ethnicities, like how Asian stereotypes actually aren't, there's no such thing as a good stereotype. When we started learning about Asians and Pacific Islanders and how people say all Asians are smart, that's actually not a good stereotype, and it was explained why. And you come to a realization that like anything, or like anything that's labeled for a certain race isn't good. But you realize that like all the races have these certain stereotypes, like how blacks are raised without fathers, or Hispanics, pretty much all of them are illegal, but whites tend to never have these bad stereotypes, and those stereotypes come from whites. And also with your sexual identity, we learned a lot about that, and the gay community and what they have to face as well. They face more than they face more ridicule than what I expected. And I just I find that crazy, and I feel like after GRI I'm more open to knowing more about where everyone's coming from. And in the class alone, everyone is just so different, and I feel welcome. Like I feel like we can all relate to something. We've all, like, I don't know how to explain it. We've all faced some type of ridicule for the way we are, and we're very open to talk about it. And there were times where we've offended each other, but we've learned off of offending each other, and I find that very interesting. Like you would have never known that you were offending somebody because of this, and now you do. What I also found very interesting that I haven't really thought about before is racial capitalism, which is also a book written by Nancy Leong, and she the definition of racial capitalism is basically someone taking something from someone else's culture and making profit from it, or like popularizing it without giving that culture any credit. Like, it's pretty much cultural appropriation. And like, I never knew what cultural appropriation was, and then when I learned more about it, I was like, wow, that's pretty messed up. So at the end of the day, from what I've learned in GRI, is that every race has faced some type of ridicule. Every sexuality, every gender, whether it's women, male, trans, whatever they choose to claim themselves as, has faced some type of ridicule. The class itself is amazing. And for anyone watching this video, I suggest you take it. I suggest you take it in the fall, which is when Professor Likes teaches it. We call him Jody. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Bye.